He spoke about Maharashtra and the police there being questioned over the misuse of the law and the government there being misused. This seems to have now become commonplace. In the last few weeks, we've seen at least 3 instances of the blatant misuse of police and law. I spoke about the Ranas who've been booked for sedition in Maharashtra for a political protest. Well, look what the Assam police has done. They arrested MLA Jignesh Mevani at midnight from Gujarat for a tweet he posted on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and then went and re-arrested him today after he was given bail. That too in Kokrajhar. The Punjab police is now being accused of going after critics of Arvind Kejriwal, Kumar Vishwas, Alka Lamba and Tejinder Singh Bagga. An SIT is allegedly being put together by the Punjab police to look at the criticism that these people have made about Mr. Kejriwal. Assam, as I said, is the latest. Re-arrested Gujarat MLA Jignesh Mevani today, moments after the MLA secured a bail in the case relating to his tweet on Prime Minister Modi. The police filed a new case against him for allegedly molesting and abusing a lady police officer. 2 new FIRs being filed at the Barpeta police station and Golpada police station in Assam. Remember, Mevani was first arrested at midnight from Gujarat's Palampur by a team from Assam police on the basis of complaint filed by a local BJP leader in Kokrajhar. Is this all political vendetta now playing out? Listen in for a moment.
This is a conspiracy on the part of BJP RSS. BJP and RSS are doing this to tarnish my image and to target me systematically. They want to destroy me. They have killed Rohit Vemula. They targeted Chandrasekhar Azad. Now they are targeting me. They have serious problems with Dalit and Abhimanyu movement. We believe in Manusmriti. We believe in Constitution. Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar was targeted by Savarkar. Modi is targeting Jignesh Mevani.
Let's raise more big questions. Has revenge politics now gone out of control in this country? Is the law being misused in this country to settle political scores? Should the Supreme Court now set some guidelines for our police forces and state governments? I'm joined by Justice Deepak Gupta, former Supreme Court judge, joins me. Also joining me is Tanveer Ahmed Mir. He's a senior lawyer. He's appeared recently for Akar Patel in a case in the Delhi courts. Remember, Akar Patel, former chief of Amnesty International, was denied the right to leave the country. I'm also going to be joined by Meeran Borwankar, senior IPS officer. But first to you, Justice Gupta, how worried are you about the manner in which the courts and the police are being misused to put people in jail at the slightest? We've seen it with the Ranas, we've seen it with Jignesh Mevani in Assam today, sedition cases being filed. Is there a worry as a former judge about the way in which laws are being misused merely to settle political vendettas?
Yeah, it is extremely worrisome. The way laws, and more importantly, even more than the laws, the police force is being used to settle political scores. You see, one would expect, as Sardar Patel has envisioned, a steel frame, the police, the bureaucracy would be independent of the political will. And today it doesn't seem to be so. I mean, one complaint is filed, and I don't support what this MLA from Gujarat, Mevani, said about the Prime Minister. The language used is highly improper, but that doesn't make it a criminal offence. Similarly, what this MP and the MLA husband, the couple in Mumbai, again, I don't support them going to the Chief Minister's house to chant the Hanuman Chalisa or something. I think that's they should chant it at their own house. They don't have to go and chant it in public. But is this a criminal offence? And even assuming it's a criminal offence, is it such a serious criminal offence that people have to be put behind bars?
So what's the solution, Justice Gupta? Today, the Bombay High Court refused to quash the FIR against the Ranas, saying they had not observed their public responsibility as public servants. As I said, this case in Assam, where the police have now gone and re-arrested Jignesh Mevani with new cases. He goes back to court. What should the courts be doing in such situations? How do they step in?
I think the time has come when the courts, the Supreme Court must now set I mean, this has been said earlier, but very high compensation should be paid in those cases where it is apparent that the FIR has been lodged and the person has been arrested only for political motive and nothing else. In these cases, it's not only these 2 cases. You look at the way the Money Laundering Act, the Enforcement Directorate, used to target people who don't toe the line of the powers that.
But in the meantime, Justice Gupta, what we are seeing in particular, Justice Gupta, you're saying the Supreme Court should intervene. But look at what lower courts are doing. They are the ones who are more than willing to grant police custody whenever, or even judicial custody to the police forces in these states. So by the time the matter reaches the Supreme Court, the damage is done. These lower courts, how do you rein them in? We've seen what's happened in Assam. Punjab police can just come in and walk into Delhi and knock on someone's door and threaten him with to arrest him. Will the courts intervene, the lower courts at all?
See, that is extremely worrisome. What you're saying, Rajdeep, is absolutely right. That the courts seem to be, they also need, the trial courts also need to examine at the stage of even granting police remand, whether actually a case is made out for grant of police remand or not. You see, one thing I can understand that the police arrests and for 24 hours they keep the person in custody before producing the person before the magistrate. But once the person is produced before the magistrate, the courts must examine, is there a requirement? In every case, there's no requirement of a person being behind bars, even if there is a criminal case made out.
So here is a Supreme Court judge saying that the courts need to be more proactive, but pointing also at the role of the police. Let's turn therefore to Meeran Borwankar and Tanveer Ahmed Khan, one a lawyer, one a police officer. You, Meeran Borwankar, first. As a police officer, the role of the police, the Mumbai Police, I heard Priyanka Chaturvedi call them Scotland Yard. This is not the way Scotland Yard would behave. This seems to be a police force that does what exactly its political masters wanted to do. That's the worry. You can't just pick up someone and arrest them.
So I agree that police is being used and misused by all political parties whenever, wherever they are in power. But it's not a new phenomena. But now, though, it has gone to an extreme. And I also feel there is a conspiracy to change the narrative. You know, McKinsey Global Institute says that we need 9 crore non-farming jobs for our youth. How to distract citizens from what we actually need and create these false narratives of Hanuman Chalisa, Azan, and have kinds of conflict and deflect attention from the real reasons.
Sure, man, that's the political issue. But what? Exists. How do I? No, I take the political issue. What about the policing issue? The fact that the police seems more than ready to misuse laws like sedition to arrest someone.
So in this case, I don't think sedition will stick. The court may even pass strictures about sedition. But yes, we are also to some extent bending forwards to please our political master. But this is also not something new. This has been happening, and Maharashtra Police and Mumbai Police, though extremely professional, does get pressurized on such occasions.
You know, let me take that sedition issue back to you, Justice Gupta. You know, the fact is, many believe the time has come to actually strike off some of these laws, because as long as these laws exist on the statute books, sedition in particular, it will be misused. Is the real solution to actually strike off some of these laws that are more than prone to be misused because they've outlived their utility, like sedition?
See, I've said it not once, I've said it umpteen times before. My view is very strong on this, that the law of sedition has no place in a civilized society. Especially a law of sedition. There is enough laws to deal with treason, etc. But sedition as framed under the IPC is a very colonial offence, which does not exist in Britain any longer. In the United Kingdom, there is no law of sedition today. You see, it was a colonial law imposed by the imperialistic masters to subvert, to put the colonial subjects under the threat of sedition. As Mahatma Gandhi said, this is one of the most colonial legacies, and it should in fact have gone with the independence. After independence, it should have gone, but unfortunately, the law has become more stringent after independence. First, it was Gandhi who made it into a straight away from a non-cognizable offence into a cognizable offence. See, all these things, as far as I'm concerned, sedition has no business to be on the statute.
You know, Meeran Borwankar, here is a judge doing a lot of plain speaking. As a police officer, do you also feel that, let's say the Assam police has now, many believe, overreached itself, gone to Gujarat to arrest an MLA at midnight over a tweet, takes him all the way to Kokrajhar, now files fresh cases against him. Should there be some kind of punishment, some kind of deterrent for police officers who blatantly are misusing their powers? They may be doing it on behalf of their political masters, but surely the police officers also, there must be some deterrent for police officers to be doing what they are doing in Punjab or doing what they are doing today in Assam or what they are doing in Mumbai over the weekend.
So I see deterrence at three levels. One, media itself is coming out very heavily. Secondly, we senior officers can put our foot down and do not and should not allow. And as Justice Gupta has said, there is no place for sedition in India now. And surprisingly, when the high courts, I think Allahabad and another high court had stuck it down, it is the Supreme Court which said that sedition law should continue. And second, courts, Justice Gupta said about fining, compensation. I'm saying come out with strong strictures so that police officers who are misusing their powers, they are deterred from using that.
No, but
so
can a police officer, can a police officer say no? Suppose his political boss, whether it is in Assam, whether it is in Gujarat, whether it's in Maharashtra, whether it's in Punjab, says, look, this is my political rival, I want you to fix them, file a case against them for this political protest. You believe in because you've gone through the service, you believe it's wrong, but yet are forced to do it. Maybe you want a promotion, maybe you want to align yourself. Can an officer say no? Can an officer dare to say no to the political boss?
Yes, and many officers have said no. They have also recorded their opinions, but most officers would agree, like as you have said, if my promotion, my posting is at the hands of politicians, which is the reality today, then maybe about 60 to 70% will agree to the orders from politicians, however unprofessional, unethical, illegal those orders are. But 30 to 40% of police officers still have their backbone around stick, and they do write also their opinion.
That's very almost reassuring to know that 30 to 40 police officers in this country have their backbone intact. I could argue that that's probably the same is true of journalism as well. I'm not sure we can say that a majority of journalists mainstream journalists have their backbones intact at the moment. But judges also, Justice Gupta, are judges also afraid of the political class, whether it's in state or center? Therefore, they don't want to get into a confrontation, and they are the ones who will really never act against the police and the government in a way that might upset the ruling political class in this country?
No, I wouldn't say that. You see, the law as it stands, it has been clarified a number of times. But I think the Supreme Court now needs to be a little more proactive and lay down guidelines, not only as to how, because this is invasion of the human rights of a citizen when he's taken and put into custody. Even if he's acquitted later or granted bail after 4 or 5 days, the damage is done. How do you unsettle that damage? And that can only be if we put very punitive damages, and those damages have to be paid by the police officers. As I said when I started, that what worries me is also that the message being sent to the trial courts in various high courts is that you don't grant bail. It will be seen at the level of the High Court or the Supreme Court that whether bail should be granted or not. There is, not only in these political cases, but I'm talking generally in criminal cases, trial courts are very reluctant to grant bail.
One final question, Meeran Borwankar. Do you really see hope unless there is police reform? Unless we can create a system where the police are guaranteed insulation from their political leadership, can we really expect any kind of change in this country?
No, that change will be only at individual levels, and it's not sustainable. So institutional change through police reforms, which have already been mandated by the Supreme Court, they are the only hope for the country and for the citizens.
Well, on that note, hopefully someday, somewhere, We will have a home minister or home ministry that will implement the police reforms that are lying. There's a Supreme Court judgment that exists in the Prakash Singh case. All you need to do out there, if you really want to prove yourselves to be true legatees of Sardar Patel and the great legacy of Mr. Patel as India's first home minister, implement the police reforms. That is what will reassure the citizens that the law is being implemented possibly in a fair manner without pressure from the political masters. Otherwise, what we've seen with the Jignesh Mevani in Assam, what we are seeing with the Ranas play out in Maharashtra, and indeed what we possibly will see in several other states in the months and years ahead, is against the constitution of this country. Think about it. If politicians are going to be treated in this way, or MLAs are going to be treated in this way, what will happen to you and I, the armed citizens of this country?